thanks for coming along today. Welcome to the meeting of the Audit, Governance and Ethics Committee. We only have one apology for absence at the moment, and that's from Councillor Payne. We haven't heard from Councillor Tucker, so we're hoping maybe he'll come along later. And I'll pass over to Angie for the emergency evacuation procedures.
Morning members, there is no planned fire test today, and if you do hear the fire alarm, then the evacuation procedure is to follow the green and white exit sign, which is there, and then we go out around the side of the building and then congregate in the cemetery car park opposite. But I would also say follow me, because I will be going that route as well. So
thank you very much.
Can you use the speakers?
Yes, sorry. I have no declarations of interest. Does anybody else on the committee have a declaration of interest for items on the agenda today? No? No. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 4, Chair's business. And I'll pass over at this stage to Amanda.
Yes, good morning everyone. Just to draw your attention to the conditions of hire of North Weston Village Hall. Just can I remind everyone please to use hand sanitizer, wear a mask when you're walking around the hall, but you don't need to wear one when seated. And we've got to vacate the hall promptly by 1300 hours because there's another booking. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, just to confirm that this AGEC meeting is taking place as a face-to-face meeting. Unfortunately, due to the continued prevalence of COVID-19, we continue to have capacity restrictions on meeting rooms, and therefore we've had to limit the number of attendees and the entry of the press and public. For this reason, we are recording this meeting for the public to view, whereas before COVID, committee meetings were not recorded. So, first off, we'll do some introductions. I'm Councillor Paul Rockin and I represent Harcliffe and Withywood Ward in Bristol. And if I can go around from Ernie.
Councillor Ernie Brown, I represent Stoke Gifford Ward, South Gloucester.
Councillor Neil Butters, I represent Bath Avon South Ward, Bath North East Somerset.
Councillor John Ash, I represent Bardley Stoke South Ward in South Gloucester.
Councillor David Wilcox, representing Loughleys Ward in Bristol.
Thank you. I've noticed Councillor Tucker has just arrived. Could I possibly ask you to introduce yourself, Richard?
Sorry Chairman, I was just trying to drive up the road to find somewhere to park, but Councillor Richard Tucker, Weston Supermayor, Milton, North Somerset Council.
Thank you. And if I could ask the officers to introduce themselves now, please.
Yes, good morning. I'm Amanda Brown. I'm the clerk to Avon Fire Authority.
good morning, I'm Angie Feely. I'm the Director of Corporate Services at Avon Fire and Rescue Service.
Good morning, I'm Danielle Neal, Treasurer to the Fire Authority.
Good morning, Steve Gregory, Bristol City Council.
Good morning, I'm Emma Bowen, Democratic Services Assistant to Avon Fire.
Thank you. And I'll get other people to introduce themselves as they come to speak. Okay, the voting today, we will use the following procedure. I'll ask for any votes against, I'll ask for any abstentions, and then I'll assume that all other members are in favour and are voting for. I'll now pass over to our Treasurer for a quick vote.
Thank you, Chair. Just to update members, the 2020-21 final accounts have now been approved by the Fire Authority Chair, the AGEC Chair, the CFO and myself as Treasurer, under the delegated approval confirmed by AGEC in September. I'm liaising closely with our external audit lead, and the lead has confirmed that they are finalising their auditor's statement, which will be shared with the Fire Authority this week. As soon as we receive that, we will then publish the final accounts on our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. That's all the formalities out of the way. So I'll move on to agenda item 5. And This is the minutes of the AGEC committee held on the 23rd of September 2021. I'd like to propose that they are a true and accurate record. Does anybody have any issues with that, or can we go straight to the vote then? Or can I get a seconder? Sorry, Neil, thank you. And all in favour? Brilliant, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. I will sign those after the meeting. We'll move on now to agenda item 6, which is the public access statement. And again, I'll be passing over to Amanda at this point.
Thank you, Chair. So, by way of public access statements, we've received one from Ms Jenny Gwynn, dated the 21st of November 2021, which I will read out. I will then update this committee on Ms Gwynn's previous public access statement to the committee meeting on the 14th of July. So the public access statement to this meeting, dated for the meeting today on the 24th of November, states as follows. It has taken over 4 months of my persistent refusal to accept the dismissals and denials by Avon finance staff and auditors Deloitte of the writing off of 740k capital expenditure on the new Avon Mouth station for this to be admitted. So that is now 3.2 million misstatements in the 2020-21 accounts identified by me. The misstatement of 740k regarding the new Avon Mouth station did affect the bottom line. Deloitte report that they have made the following adjustments in the 2021 accounts to correct this. 474k understatement of retained earnings and 266k understatement in revaluation reserve. I do not believe these adjustments are correct. The net book value of the RAM item number 000002 Old Avon Mouth Station, to which the 740k cash expenditure was originally added, had been impaired revalued down to a value of 219k at 31st of March 21, representing Jones Lang LaSalle's valuation of 269k at 31st of March 20, less 49k depreciation in 2021. Deloitte's adjustment represents cash expenditure of 266k as a non-cash transaction increase to the revaluation reserve, either artificially increasing the old Avon Mouth station's value to 485k, or incorrectly representing 266k of the 740k cash spend as a non-cash increase in value in the new Avon Mouth station. They have done this kind of thing before. Please can Deloitte provide a clear explanation of why they believe this is correct, and if this is, as I believe, incorrect, can they correct this? It is concerning that in 2021, Avon decided for the first time, brackets, in decades at least, brackets, not to use independent professional property valuers and instead have valuations done by Deloitte. Deloitte's report suggests this may continue. Despite a commitment from Deloitte to AGEC members in their meeting of 21st September to give a full response to my concerns raised in emails dated 17th and 21st September, sent to them and copied to the AGEC chair, following my review of the 2021 accounting records provided to me, 2 months on, they have failed to do this. The only concern they have responded to is the 740k error as above. Another bottom line error of approximately 250k, brackets, this one, an uncorrected adjustment overstating expenditure, brackets, is mentioned in Deloitte's latest report, but no details of what the prepaid invoice referred to was for. Can Deloitte please let AGEC members and the public know? The only invoice I can find large enough as published expenditure over £500 is for insurance. Previous mention has been made recently of poor procurement regarding insurance, having resulted in Avon paying significantly above the odds. Yet in 2020-21, having changed insurer from Zurich to Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company Limited, Avon paid approximately 250k more. Zurich was paid approximately 450k in mid-September 2018 and 2019. In 2021, however, these insurance payments were made. 14th of April 20, Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company Limited, 232331. 21st of September 20, Bristol City Council, insurance £20,000. 2nd of December 2020, Zurich Insurance Company, 33,665.62. 27th of January 21, Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company Limited, 420,451.79. Deloitte rebut the need to audit incoming monies, but can they please confirm brackets with proof brackets how much was received from Zurich on the apparent early ending of insurance cover provided by them, and also confirm that any insurance refund received was credited against insurance expenditure. Can Avon also please explain why they are apparently paying either approximately 250k more, or if Zurich paid a similar amount, the same inflated amount for insurance with the new providers. In the AGEC meeting of 21st September, it was resolved to publish the audited statement of accounts on Avon Fire's website by 30th September. It's not there. If this has been removed for correction of the additional misstatement identified, please state when the amended version will be published. It is strange that Deloitte generally don't alter draft accounts with errors found during their audit, as can be seen in their report of numerous six-figure sum unadjusted errors. Isn't the point of an audit to produce accurate accounts? So that's the end of the new public access statement. I will then update you on the previous public access statement. So members will recall that a public access statement was also received from Ms Gwynn at a previous meeting on the 14th of July, and a response to that public access statement was read out at that meeting, and an update was provided to members at the last AGEC meeting on the 23rd of September 2021. On the matters raised in the July public access statement relating to the technical financial accounting of Avon Station, the member of the public has also sent emails raising these and other questions to the external auditors Deloitte following the public inspection of our accounts. The auditors provided a formal written response to Ms Gwynn dated 19th November 21. That response has been shared with members of this committee and will be uploaded to our website after this meeting. Ms Gwynn has responded to the auditor's letter by email dated 21st November. In order to respond to both the new November public access statement and the 21st of November email to the auditors, the following will happen. 1. Some information will be covered today during the presentation of the external auditor's paper. 2. Questions which Ms Gwynn states that she previously raised with the auditors via email will be responded to by the auditors this week. 3. New questions raised in the November public access statement in response to the public inspection of the 2021 accounts will be responded to by the auditors by Friday the 3rd of December. 4. Questions in the July and November public access statements which the auditor believes are outside their remit will be answered by the Director of Corporate Services by Friday the 3rd of December. Copies of all responses provided to Ms Gwynn will be shared with the members of this committee and published on our website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Okay, moving on to item number 7, which is for approval, the draft statement of insurance 2020-21. Unfortunately, Jane Lynch-Locke is not very well and can't be with us today. But we have a more than able substitute in Angela Feeney.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is a paper coming to you for a decision, and that decision is for approval and then publication of the draft annual statement of assurance, which is before you. The statement of assurance is a requirement for fire and rescue services in accordance with the National Framework Document. The National Framework Document sets out the government's priorities and objectives for fire and rescue services. The document provides assurance to the community and the government on the financial, governance and operational matters, and it needs to be produced and published by the 31st of March in respect of the previous year. Therefore, the draft statement of assurance for the year 2021 is provided for your consideration and approval. This is a routine document that members will see from each year, or obviously that the content moves on accordingly. As the document is including around sort of financial and governance, It has also been considered internally by our Service Leadership Board, the Treasurer and the Clerk. I'll now hand over to questions. As the Chair has said, this is a report and a document of the Deputy Director of Corporate Services, who is also our Head of Corporate Assurance at the moment. But I will do my best to answer any questions that you have, and if necessary, take any further off this committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. Do any members have questions regarding the Statement of Assurance? Or any comments to raise? No? Okay, well then I will go to the recommendations. We are asked to approve the Annual Statement of Assurance 2020-21 for publication and recommend that the Chair of Avon Fire Authority signs the forward on behalf of the full authority. So I will propose that we do that. Do we have anyone who votes against that?
Seconder.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. Thank you, Ernie. Do we have any votes against that? Do we have any abstentions? And votes for, please. Everybody? Good. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is for noting. It's the Internal Audit Progress Report, and I will invite Vicky to come to the table here and present. Once you're settled, Vicky, if you could just introduce yourself before you start, that'd be great. Thank you.
Morning everyone. I'm Vicky Gould from Internal Audit RSM. So presenting to you this morning our progress report, which provides an update on delivery of the... I'll just shout. I've just a loud voice. So this report provides an update on delivery of the 21-22 Internal Audit Plan. And whilst we don't have any final reports to present to this meeting, we have made quite a bit of progress in that we have completed the fieldwork on the training audit and the fleet management audit. And the training report is with management to review, and we're just awaiting feedback before we can finalise that one. And the fleet management report should be issued in draft very shortly. The key financial controls audit started yesterday, and that one will be presented to the next meeting, and that's looking at the devolved budgets process that Danielle has presented to you previously. So a bit of check and challenge over that new process. You'll see on page 38 that we've been providing benchmarking and good practice to feed into Danielle and the finance team's new budgetary control framework, which is discussed later. And we've also been engaging around the pension issue. So you'll remember at the last meeting we approved an audit on the new pension process, but that has since changed again. So Andy might want to give you a quick update. But that audit, which was due to take place in December, is on hold for now. So you see section 2 just sets out delivery of the plan. So we only have the transformation and the follow-up audit left to go in the new year. And I'll take any questions.
Thanks very much, Vicky. Angie, do you want to say anything on the pension side at this point?
Can do, thank you, Chair. So members will remember that actual meeting on the 30th of June, you made a decision as a... I'll shout as well. So, as a fire authority, made a decision on the 30th of June to process what is termed kind of immediate detriment cases with reference to pension for the people who are coming up to retirement. Subsequent to that, there has been a memorandum of understanding issued between the LGA and the FBU with an underpinning framework and guidance, which is for consideration of fire authorities to adopt. And the primary change in that is that it would also then apply to people who have already retired. So the Fire Authority are scheduled to consider that proposal at its meeting in December, and therefore as the audit was going to be checking our processes and controls in place for what you had agreed in June, as you may be making a different decision in December, it therefore made sense to defer that audit until after you have considered doing your considerations in December. So that's the basis upon which that pensions audit has been delayed.
Thank you, Angie. And I'll shout as well. Excuse me. I'm going to ask the questions in a second. Vicky, could I just ask, some of the timetabling has been pushed back slightly.
Yeah.
I believe this is because of the prioritisation during COVID.
Well, I think so. The training audit took place at the right time. It's just that the senior management is still going through the findings, so to make sure that it's an accurate reflection when we report it to you, rather than rushing it through. The fleet management audit, that was pushed back a few weeks due to both sides with availability, because we needed to go on site for that one. So all of our audits we've been doing remotely since COVID, but the fleet management one, because a lot of their documents are paper and a lot of their processes we needed to kind of see, we had to go on site. So the timing was pushed back, and so we just missed the deadline to be able to get this one through.
Thank you. Do members have questions for Vicky or Angie? David?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm interested in the diversity and inclusion targets and business continuity ones, which seem to have been pushed back. Most of the diversity and inclusion ones don't seem to be impaired by COVID or anything like that. They're internal office-based things. So I'm just wondering why they've slipped so much.
That's the next agenda item.
Yeah, oh, right, okay, sorry.
I don't know if we want to just conclude on this one before.
I'm ahead of myself.
I will not be much later.
Do any other members have questions? No? Okay.
I think just to provide some reassurance as well that even without the pensions work, there's enough assurance work here to do give an annual opinion. So even if the pensions work doesn't go ahead, that was a contingency allocation. So we have got enough work to provide an annual opinion. So it's not that we will need to find an audit to replace the pensions audit if it doesn't go ahead.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Vicky. I'll just move back. That is just for noting. So I can release you from the table now, unless last chance for questions. Richard.
Just a quickie, Chair. Yeah, just to ask Vicky, are you sort of happy that you have sufficient resource to carry out all the forthcoming audits? Obviously, with a bit of slippage, and you seem to be coping reasonably well, but
I think both internal and external audit providers will let you know that because of the pandemic and a lot of our clients cancelled audits, and so we're now got this big rush of work. But we have a robust planning process, and we have a planning board where we allocate staff depending on their skills and knowledge of the organisation. So we have all of these audits planned in to take place on these dates, and we have a really good process with Helen, and Vicky will be taking that over when she goes on maternity leave to make sure that we scope them in enough time and that we get information in a timely manner, and that's showing this week with the financial controls audit, which is already well underway. So yeah, happy that this will all be delivered on time to the February and May meetings.
Thank you, Vicky. That's very reassuring. Okay. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is the internal audit action monitor. And I'm going to pass over again to Benji on this one.
I'm wondering whether to try that. Shall I try that again?
I think it's too loud overall. It's just
there is a volume control inside of it as well. We'll see how you get on. Here we go. Okay.
Thank you.
Members, this is a report coming to you for voting. It is a routine report which comes to each committee. This is our internal tracker which we use to monitor the completion of internal audit actions. And as agreed with the committee, this is a streamlined report from the report that you used to receive, which informs members of internal audit actions which have been completed since the previous meeting, and any actions where deadline changes have been approved by our service leadership team. As the report outlines, 36 internal audit recommendations were issued in 2021, and despite the impact of the pandemic, 17 of those have been completed or superseded, with 19 progressing. And in 21-22, so far there have been 2 recommendations by internal audit, both of which are complete. As described at the last committee, the service leadership team agreed that some of the actions would need to progress to a slower pace than originally planned because of the additional and pressing work arising from the pandemic, as well as you will note from the report, that we alongside this have a transformation programme running. So we want to, so some of that is then superseding some of the audit actions which are highlighted in the report. The decision on moving some of them to a slower pace were risk assessed, and therefore you'd see did not apply to any of the high priority actions which have been issued by internal audit. And now that resources are returning, although not completely, well, to some extent post-COVID, there has been what's described as a COVID reset of the original deadlines to balance the necessitation of some of them to have been delayed, but also to ensure we have that balance of continuing progress and momentum on those ones. As I say, I'm happy to kind of take questions, and I'm anticipating that we might have some from Councillor Wilcox. Again, this is a report of our corporate assurance manager and our deputy director who's unwell today, but while I will try and assist with any questions of detail. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie. And I'll ask questions, but obviously, David, you've got in there first, so fire away.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I'm interested in the delays associated with the business continuity and the DICE stuff, because they seem to be more office-based than physical asset tracking or changes to policy and stuff like that. So can I have some help on understanding why they've been delayed, please?
Okay. Was there a particular, so if I take DICE first, was there a particular one, Councillor Wilcox? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. I'm happy to go over the 5, but was there a particular one?
There was one about getting accreditation for a website and changing a website, which I found to be odd that it was taking so long. Which one was it?
Is that the one which is third-party accreditation?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, so my understanding of that is that it's, what we're seeking is how to have some accreditation of our work around DICE, and once we have that accreditation, that would be then placed on a website. So it isn't the kind of website part of it, it's the delay, it's the actually going through the process of accreditation and deciding which accreditation that we are going for. As I say, there has been some discussions around that to decide which accreditation that we would kind of be going for. So it was less around kind of website around that, it was around research for equality and inclusion. And I think whilst directly it might not be immediately obvious about how the DICE team have been involved with doing COVID, they were involved with doing COVID, in particular the early stages, because of the differential impact of COVID on some of our BAME communities, but also our BAME staff. And they have been involved in the quality impact assessments of all of our approach to handling COVID and our risk assessments. So whilst not immediately obvious, they have had a role to play working within our kind of pandemic kind of work around that.
Thank you, Angie. David, did you want to come back at all?
As well, business continuity.
No, we'll deal with it some other time. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Butters.
Yeah, Chair. Nice to see no reds and stuff. I was a bit puzzled by workforce planning comment. A succession planning report being presented to the presumably Police and Crime Commissioner. What's the relevance of that? Did I miss something?
Sorry, Councillor Butters. What page
Page
is that
46.
one on? Page 46.
At the top.
Yes, that the P and CC is described in the first column, and it actually stands for the People and Culture Committee.
I see. Well, we're so used to Police and Crime Commissioner that maybe we could invent a different...
You change one for that for clarity. Yes, I take that on board, Councillor Butters, and we'll come up with a different one kind of for next time.
PNCC is a bit sensitive, I think we might say.
Point taken.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
We'll amend that in future.
I thought there must be a simple explanation. But,
Thank you, Neil. Do we have any other questions?
Can I ask about return to work interviews, sorry? Because I see the suggestion that they're going to be done on a, just if you had a day, one day off. I mean, we're not going to clog the system up, are we?
Sorry, Councillor Butters, what was the final part of the sentence you said?
Are we going to, in danger of clogging up the system if we're doing return to work interviews when somebody's just had one day off?
Yeah, so what we currently have is that people will have what we call a return to work interview if they have 4 or more kind of days of absence, and that's a more kind of detailed conversation. There is already a conversation from day 1 of sickness, because you then need to complete your kind of self-assessment form, and I think the underlying thing here that we're trying to have is that if somebody has been unwell, that there is a conversation around what they've been unwell with and whether they need any support. But of course it varies, and you know, it's a very sort of short conversation at one day than it might be for other kind of days. And what you'll also notice from that is that we think that that one is superseded, because we are moving away from sort of return to work interviews to kind of a welfare-based conversation. And this is also in line with some work that the NFCC have done on their attendance kind of policies. So I think, yeah, what we want to do is make sure that staff have that conversation, but it's a conversation which is in the right way and it's fitting for actually the number of days that they have been absent, and that's what's kind of being worked on at the moment with our new kind of attendance management policy.
Thank you, Neil. David?
Yes, sorry, one more question, Chair. In the July meeting, we talked about the corporate risk register, and I'm just wondering where the corporate risk register will get discussed at this meeting, please.
It's scheduled to come to the next meeting, Councillor.
Good.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Councillor Butters?
So one thing I just remark upon is the progression of female employees. I thought that was a good point to be made. I don't know whether other organisations are heading in this direction, but yeah, I think that's worthwhile.
Thanks for your comments, Neil. Appreciate it. Do you have any other questions on this? Thank you. Okay, well, the recommendations is we are asked to note the progress made against internal audit recommendations and management actions, and I'll take it that we do so. Moving on to agenda item 10.
Sorry, Chair, I beg your pardon. There was one more I was just going to remark upon, which was the Asbestos Survey and our relationship with Somerset County Council. Is that that's going to be broken up, isn't it? So we'll have to think anew on that, will we?
Do you have any knowledge on that one?
That is one that I will need to take off and talk to our premises team about, Councillor Butters, so I can respond to you kind of separately on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, so we will note that report and move on to agenda item 10, which is the budgetary control framework. And here the recommendation is we are asked to approve the budgetary control framework. And our Treasurer Danielle will present on this one.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. As the Chair has just indicated, this is a report seeking approval today for a new budgetary control framework. Just in terms of context and background, members will be aware that this is part of the financial improvement programme that we introduced last year, and AJAC agreed to receive this budgetary control framework within 2021-22. This framework is an integral part of the Fire Authority's internal financial control environment, and this document, which is shown in Appendix 1, outlines key aspects of budgetary control, budget holder and manager responsibilities, and supports the introduction of devolved budgets, which we've discussed at AJAC and the Fire Authority. Important to note that effective management of approved budgets by the Fire Authority will enable the service to achieve its strategic priorities, and this document and framework will help improve that and strengthen, which is really, really helpful. This framework has been developed with support from the Head of Finance and our new financial accountant, and it's also been reviewed by our internal audit manager, Vicky, who has reviewed against good practice and benchmarking. Suggestions made by our internal audit manager have been incorporated within the final draft that's been shared with members today. Also important to note that this new framework aligns to the review and updates we are proposing to the Fire Authority's constitution, particularly financial regulations and the scheme of delegation, which had been reviewed by the Constitution Working Group and will be presented to the Fire Authority in December. Once approved, we will then share with our budget holders and budget managers and undertake any further training that may be required. I would like to thank particularly Claire, our Head of Finance, and Ben, our Financial Accountant, who have done a huge amount of work to produce this document. And I would also like to thank Vicky, our Internal Audit Manager, both on this and support with regards to the updates to the financial regulations and scheme of delegation. My recommendation, if approved today, is that AJAC review this on an annual basis. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Danielle, and I'd also like to, on behalf of the members, echo your comments about Ben, Claire and Vicky, and obviously yourself working very hard on this, so thank you for that. I'll ask members if we have any questions for Danielle on this. Richard.
Just really a quick supportive comment, really, Chair. Certainly in support of the principle of devolving the budgets and where we're trying to go with this. And I think the assuring thing is, just from reading the papers last night, that the departments aren't going to be sort of left on their own to kind of fight through their own budgetary responsibilities, which obviously will come with some of the delegation. It looks as though the accounts and finance staff will be sort of keeping an eye over the shoulder, I suppose, to summarise. So I think it's quite reassuring and a good way to go. Happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. David.
Thank you, yeah, and I welcome this as well. I'm just looking at the business case template, where there are things at the bottom, the legal policy implications, diversity and quality implications, and an environmental impact assessment. Are there templates for those sections as well that can be shared, please?
Thank you for that question. So the annex that we've shared, all of the annex, they're not new annex. These are established documents that have already been shared with budget holders and budget managers. The reason that we felt it would be helpful to include today is because there was reference made to it within the budgetary control framework, and so it would be very difficult for members to understand what that looked like, so that's kind of what we've included. So in terms of your specific query, we've not put any further information in here. We wanted to give members a top level view of that. But if there is further information that you feel or other members feel they'd like to see outside of the meeting, very, very happy to share that with you.
Councillor, I might be able to help with that. So these headings are headings that also appear in most of your reports. And all members of staff at Avon Fire and Rescue Service know that they are encouraged to speak to me as their clerk for any legal advice. So particularly in relation to diversity and equality, we have a member of staff dedicated to that topic, but if he doesn't know the answer, they will always come to me. So when they are developing these business cases, it's not just the report, the person filling it in who has input. They go and get specialist advice from the specialists under those headings. So in relation to environmental, we have a manager called Annabelle who will always help with that particular section. So they're not on their own, they get specialist input for all of these topics. So hopefully that helps and gives you some reassurance.
Thanks, Amanda. David, are you happy with that? Do we have any other questions from members? Okay. We are asked today to approve the budgetary control framework, and I'd like to propose that we do so. May I have a seconder? John, thank you. Any votes against? Any abstentions? And votes for, please. Thank you. So that is approved. And we'll move on to item 11, which is also for approval, which is the external audit of final ISA 260. And I believe Michelle is going to present on this one. Again, if you could just introduce yourself before you start, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
I'll try this. There we go. So hi members, I'm Michelle from Deloitte. I'm here in place of Ian House's taken some time away from the office. So I've stepped in to help continue with the extra audit in terms to progress it, in terms of finalising it and getting it to a position where we're going to sign the opinion. I wasn't going to go through the ISA 260 in detail because Ian went through that previously at the last meeting. But what I would say is that the audit has been finalised in Ian's absence, which is actually really positive, and means that we'll be looking to sign the audit opinion this week. And in terms of the conclusions of the audit, nothing has changed since that presentation. The audit opinion will still be unqualified, which sounds odd, but it is positive. It is a positive statement that it's unqualified, and that's in terms of the financial numbers and also in terms of value for money. I'm happy to take any questions there on the ISA 260.
Thank you, Michelle. Do members have any questions? No? Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I'm going to ask that we approve the external audit final ISA 260. I will propose that. May I have a seconder, please? David, thank you. Are there any votes against? Are there any abstentions? All those in favour? Thank you very much. Item 11 is approved. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, we come to the last item on the public agenda, which is the date of the next meeting, which will be the 10th of February 2022 at 10:30 hours, and the venue will be confirmed when we've booked it. So at this point, I'm now going to exclude the press and the public. I am going to propose that we resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the following items of business on the grounds that they contained exempt information pursuant to Schedule 12A, Part 1 of the Local Government Act 1972, and that's in accordance with Schedule 12A, Part 2, Paragraph 10 of the Local Government Act 1972. The public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So I will propose that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Neil, thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? And all those in favour? Okay. Thank you very much. I'll ask Mark at this point to stop recording the meeting.